For centuries, it was only a story. A city of gold and glory, born from poetry and buried by time. But what if the legends of Troy were not myths at all? What if beneath the ruins of northwest Turkey lies the truth behind the greatest war ever told? This is the real story of Troy, where myth meets history. The tale of Troy has outlived empires. Homer's Iliad and Odyssey turned it into the heartbeat of Western civilization, a saga of heroes and gods, of love and vengeance, Achilles and Hector, Helen and Paris. The walls of Troy echo with their names, but was any of it real? For over 3,000 years, scholars, adventurers, and dreamers have asked that same question. Was there truly a 10-year siege? Did the city even exist? Or was it just a metaphor for human pride and destruction? To find the truth, we must dig, not into legend, but into the earth itself. And the search begins at a lonely hill in modern-day Turkey, a mound of ancient ruins once called Hisarlık. What lay buried there would change archaeology forever. In the 1870s, a German businessman named Heinrich Schliemann arrived at Hisarlık with a copy of Homer's Iliad in his hand and obsession in his eyes. He believed every line was true, and he set out to prove it. Schliemann wasn't a scientist. He was a treasure hunter with dynamite. He dug furiously through the mound, tearing away layers that had stood for millennia. In 1873, he struck gold, literally. He called it Priam's treasure, the lost riches of the Trojan king himself, crowns, jewelry, golden cups. But the truth was crueler than the myth. What he found belonged not to the age of Homer, but to a city 1,000 years older, Troy II, long before the Trojan War could have happened. In his hunger for glory, Schliemann destroyed parts of the very city he hoped to save. Yet, despite his mistakes, Schliemann achieved one immortal thing. He proved that Troy was real. The world could no longer dismiss Homer's city as fantasy. After Schliemann came the scientists. Wilhelm Dörpfeld mapped the site with precision and found the massive stone walls of Troy Sixth, a fortress fit for kings. Later, American archaeologist Carl Blegen uncovered evidence of a darker chapter: charred buildings, fallen towers, and human skeletons left unburied. This city, now called Troy 7a, had met a violent end around 1180 B.C. The timeline matched Homer's world, a thriving Bronze Age city destroyed at the dawn of a dark new era. For the first time, myth and archaeology aligned, and Troy 7a became the strongest candidate for Homeric Troy. In the late 20th century, new excavations led by Manfred Korfmann revealed something Schliemann never imagined: a vast lower city surrounding the citadel, home to thousands. Troy was not just a fortress. It was a bustling metropolis, a crossroads of trade linking Asia and Europe, the Aegean and the Black Sea. A city of merchants, warriors, and diplomats, powerful enough to spark envy from empires. The image of Troy was reborn, no longer a mythic ruin, but a thriving Bronze Age capital whose destruction marked the end of an age. While Homer sang of Troy's glory, another civilization, the Hittite Empire, left its own records, not in verse, but in clay. In the archives of ancient Hattusa, archaeologists found over 10,000 cuneiform tablets. Among them were letters and treaties that mention a kingdom called Wiluša, ruled by kings with names like Alexandru, the Hittite form of Alexandros, known in Greek legend as Paris. A treaty signed around 1280 BC between the Hittite king Muwatalli II and Alexandru of Wiluša confirmed it. Troy was no myth. It was a real vassal state in western Anatolia, tied by oath to the Hittite Empire. And the tablets spoke of its western rivals, a powerful people called Ahhiyawa, almost certainly the Achaeans, the Mycenaean Greeks of Homeric fame. These records described decades of political tension, invasions, and shifting alliances. In other words, the stage was already set for war. Around 1200 BC, the world of heroes fell apart. The mighty Hittite Empire vanished. Mycenaean palaces crumbled. Trade routes collapsed. A perfect storm of disasters, drought, famine, earthquakes, and rebellion, swept across the Mediterranean. Ancient letters cried for help. In my land there is no grain. The people are dying of hunger. It was the twilight of an age. In this chaos, a new threat emerged. The Sea Peoples, mysterious raiders who burned cities from Anatolia to Egypt. But new discoveries in Turkey suggest another story. A massive Luwian inscription found near Afyon describes a coalition of Western Anatolian kingdoms, led by a ruler who controlled Troy, launching naval campaigns across the sea. One name stands out: Muxus, a Trojan prince commanding the fleets. If this is true, Troy was not merely a victim. It was a power player in the very wars that ended its world. So, what truly happened at Troy? Archaeology tells us there was a powerful city. History shows it stood at the crossroads of empires, and myth preserved its fall in immortal poetry. The Iliad may not be a history book, but it is a memory, a cultural echo of real wars fought in a collapsing age. The heroes, the gods, the wooden horse, these are symbols, not lies. The horse may have been a siege engine, a clever ruse, or even the poet's way of describing an earthquake, the ground itself betraying the city. Homer transformed tragedy into legend, and through him, Troy never died. Today, scholars agree. A war did happen. A real city was destroyed. But whether it was fought over a woman's beauty or a trade route through the Dardanelles, that no one can say. What endures is the mystery. The story of Troy reminds us that history is never fixed. It lives, buried in the soil, waiting to be rediscovered. And every shovel of earth, every fragment of pottery, brings us closer to the truth that once inspired 1,000 ships. So, was Troy myth or reality? Perhaps both. For every legend begins with a memory, and every memory, if you dig deep enough, leads to history. If you believe history still has secrets left to uncover, subscribe to Past Agenda, where every legend is a clue, and every story takes us one step closer to the truth buried beneath time. Thanks for watching. The visuals within this presentation are crafted to enrich your understanding, serving as artistic interpretations and contextual aids rather than direct factual representations. Their purpose is to illuminate the narrative and deepen your engagement with the historical backdrop. Join our growing community of history enthusiasts. Hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support keeps history alive.